it's been a minute since we did a YouTube live, right? I think the last one
Mhm.
was it in the heat of the night? Was it that long ago?
Yes.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Cool. All right. So we're talking about this doing a follow up from episode 21. Solange's a seat at the table. Um, I really liked that episode. I got got a lot of good feedback about our episode too. So
Same.
kind of excited to delve into more of these topics. Anything kind of stand out to you from the last episode?
Definitely conversations about cultural appropriation and just in general how difficult it can be to kind of talk about black rage in general and how sometimes I feel like you have to kind of word why it's justified for black people to be so angry, you know?
Right. What I mean, we know the obvious reason, right?
Mhm.
Like why black people should be angry.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe the question is, who should black people be mad at, right? I
Mhm.
feel like that's a good question. Who should black people be mad at?
Who should they be mad at? And
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's obvious why, but a lot of times I feel like when black people talk about racism and injustices, sometimes people are like, "Oh, that's not just a black matter." And it's like, yes, it is. It is also a it's a matter for everyone, but it can also be a matter that black people are allowed to talk about and care about without
Right.
feeling like they're being judged or criticized for being angry.
So who are you mad at?
Who am I mad at? I think I'm mad. I'm mad at what white supremacy has done to this country, just in general, what it's done to the world, and how so much of what we internalize is because of how white supremacy makes us perceive ourselves.
We who, just to be specific.
Uh, Black people,
Okay.
yeah. So it's one of those where it just kind of affects your day to day all the time, every moment of the day, and black people have to just kind of live with it. And sometimes when people question, why are you so mad, or oh, that was so long ago, or whatever the case is, it's like it's never so long ago. Everything that happens, affects the present. It affects the future. The past doesn't just stay in the past. It's
Right.
an ongoing thing.
You said black people, and I always kind of want to specify for you, is it African American specifically? Is it the diaspora? Do you leave certain black groups or black nations or countries out of it? Like, what is who are the black people for you? Like when it comes to um, the ills of what I'm balancing like white experience and black experience. So like the ills of the white experience. Who are the black people for you that have been affected by it?
By white supremacy, all of us,
Right.
everybody,
Okay.
all black people everywhere, whatever country, whatever continent they're on, it affects us because um, white supremacy dictates how the world runs, for the majority of it. So it's definitely one of those things where all black people, wherever you are affected by it.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Um. So I guess I'll. Uh, for me, being mad, I'm mad at everyone.
Hmm.
I blame everyone. There's. Have you seen that the new? I'm, I want to say like my initial thought like new black film, but it's more than that. The Woman King, I think it's called.
No, I
Have you
haven't
seen
seen it
that?
yet. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
I've seen mixed things about it. On one aspect, mixed things mostly from black people. Like when we talked about, I think Jay-Z's The Black Album,
Hmm.
I was like, I don't really listen to white people's opinions when it comes to black art anymore. Like I'm not interested. But I've seen a lot of balanced takes from black content creators on TikTok. Some people championing it, someone being upset that it was called Woman King because, like, it doesn't make sense. Like a king is just defined within masculinity, I guess. Um, I saw people being upset, or people saying that African nations never sold slaves,
Hmm.
which was just weird to me because I just learned 2 weeks ago that some African nations apologized for their role in slavery. Um, so like, going back to my original point, I'm mad at everyone. I'm mad at the African nations that participated in slavery. I get the game, right? Like,
Hmm.
they did what they did. They didn't really know they didn't know what it would have become. They're just
Right.
like, I'm just trying to barter, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, mad at the white experience. Um, I think more so in the present now, I find myself more upset with the black experience overall. Um, and mostly because for me, the cycle is still feels perpetual because I feel like the black experience is still focused on what white people are doing, what they have done,
Hmm.
versus on the tangible work that kind of needs to be done in the present, and not moving past all the ills, but just focusing on tomorrow.
Hmm.
And like these past few years have really been about awareness and information and rewriting history and learning. But I feel like opening that door has just kind of led to some stagnation within the evolution of the black experience for like the everyday people mostly.
Hmm. What do you mean by like stagnation?
I guess going back to the idea of people being too focused on history, too
Hmm.
focused on the past, and you know the common belief, if you don't learn history, you end up repeating it.
Hmm.
But we're aware of history, right? Like the history of the black experience is trauma, exploitation, and I see the value in revealing all of these new ills and like rewriting some of the history, but it feels like people are more focused on just here here's what else happened. Here's what else happened. Like how many more facts, how many more things need to get unraveled before it's like, all right, we know all of this. Like what are next tangible steps to rewrite the experience, like within ourselves, within our communities. We talked about for Crooklyn, we talked about like what is it, are there any communities left anymore?
Hmm.
And it's kind of seeing the shift in terms of community. Um, and for me, like that all kind of ties in.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think like I don't know. It's just a hard topic to sum up. Um, but it definitely lets you know that everything is connected, and even I know like you said, you have to get beyond the past sometimes, but we also have to keep in mind that the effects of all laws and rules, they still play a big part in the now and play a big part in how everything is in the future. So it can, I don't know, it's also connected that it's hard to break the cycle when you have so much against you. And especially since I feel like a lot of the time there's not a sense of community because everyone is just trying to survive. And in this country, especially, individualism is so rampant and people just want to worry about themselves and nothing else that it's hard for them to focus on community when you're struggling or you're just trying to, get rich or be better. Um, so I think that plays a part too. But it's definitely something that is really really difficult to kind of sum up because what is the right answer when you have one. I feel like a lot of people, especially like black people, feel like they have the weight of the world, or they feel exploited or they feel invisible. I think it can be really hard.
Merlene G writes, I think news stories come out because we have been told mostly negative stories for so long. I believe the news stories are meant to give us strength. Yeah, I agree with the intent behind the news stories, and maybe it ends up being, my the social media. I mean, social media and rules our life experience and how we kind of view things.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see the top Black content creators and a lot of their content is being geared toward like the victim aspect of what happened, right? Like you said, we know the history, we know what happened, we know the ills have happened, right? It's like slavery, for me, slavery within itself, like, okay, wrong. Like, how do we write that, right? And the challenge is that there hasn't been any real right done through it. So here's some new information. Like I said, here's some new information, right? Here's this new atrocity that happened. Here's this new king we find about. Here's this new queen. We have all of this information, but it still just feels like, and I understand your point that it feels like there's a lot against us. And maybe like you said about individualism, right? The core the real thing that needs to change is really just the focus on community and not viewing things based on individualism,
Right.
right? Like the representation, it's like representation matters, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the main focus. The stories, the history, the awareness of what's going on, that's representation within itself. But what do you do with the information, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
tangible steps do we take as individuals to re rewrite the experience for the future versus the past dictating the present and the future because we aren't doing anything about it in the present to you're not doing anything about it in the present.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. When I say it's so hard to focus as a community when so long you hear worry about yourself, worry about you, what about you, what about your job, what about this? So it's I think that's very intentional. When you are so focused on surviving, then it's harder to think about community. And I think that a lot of us don't realize is that community would be our strongest point, to have a network. And if everyone had a network of people that you could depend on, whether it be for childcare, whether it be for, just bartering, like trading services or whatever the case is, then we wouldn't have to depend so much on outside people making the rules for us. But then again, there's so many systems that you have to work against. Like even when it comes to owning things in your own neighborhoods, we don't own a lot of things in our own neighborhoods. So maybe, hold on one second. A lot of sirens.
That's all, that's all good.
So it's like, you're working against so many things, especially when it comes to like we're not owning everything in our neighborhoods and we haven't maybe for a long time. And then when you get the chance to make a big sum of money because you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, this could support my family, then you're selling your home. So now you don't have that home. And it's just like capitalism plays a big part in it too, because most of what we do, whether it be have a job or whatever, is based around capitalism. So without it, like, how do you find the time to, create community when you're trying to figure out how you're going to eat, how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to take care of your family, like what your mom up to, is your sister taking care of. So I think a lot of that plays into it, and that's just not even solely based on just a Black experience. It's the experience that I feel like a lot of people in this country have when you're living paycheck to paycheck. How can you worry about what politicians are doing, constantly and all the time, or have the energy to even pay attention to it when you're so tired? And I think, all of that is intentional, because if you're focused on other things, you can't worry about what, like, big wigs and stuff are doing. So it's a really hard and like difficult, it's good power to the people, but it's hard. It's really difficult.
I say it's a good game. It's a good game. It's a difficult game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, for me, it always goes back to the individual. It always starts with the individual. Um, and the challenge is making more people feel empowered, right? Like
Right.
going back to what you say about not having choices, not feeling like, you have time or exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
people, I guess, making people feel empowered to, offer a little bit more time, right? Like,
Right.
we hear the stories about people who, you work the 9 to 5, and then, when you work the 9 to 5, you work the late shift, and like, you just spend an hour of your day on your craft, or you
Hmm.
just sacrifice just a little bit of more time. And maybe that's it, right? If
Yeah.
the transition from there's an innate sacrifice that we have to give to society, right? Like the majority of your life is sacrifice
Yeah.
and forfeit to society, and finding a way for more people to be willing to sacrifice for themselves and what's closer and precious to them.
Right.
And hopefully that just kind of sparks the awareness
Yeah.
to do a bit more, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I kind of learned over the years. It's not about big wins. It's not about major influence. It's just like the gradual relative people you can influence,
Small
and like,
victories.
yeah, like that's what it needs to be, could be,
Hmm.
should be,
Yeah.
but it won't be
Yeah.
because there's we're focused on the wrong individualism, right?
Hmm.
We're just focused on trying to make it,
Yeah.
not even trying to make it, trying to survive, right?
Right.
Trying to just draw another breath for tomorrow.
Exactly. Because even when I think about it, there are days when, I'm up at 6:30 to get ready for work, and then I commute like 45 minutes to get to work, and then sit at work from 9 to 5. And you're working with different people, you're working with different, like I work for a hospital, I'm working with different departments, and then I clock out at 5, and then it's back to my 45-minute commute. And then you still have to even understand the fact that, we're in a pandemic on top of that, so you're trying to stay safe. By the time I get home, it's 6 o'clock, 6:15, and I'm like, wow, I really need to just take a moment to kind of relax. And then the next thing you know, it's time for dinner, then it's time for bed, and then you're like, damn, I feel like there's never enough time. And I feel like all of that is definitely one of those things where you feel like, it's like, is this intentional? And I feel, I'm not active on Twitter in the sense that I like, tweet or whatever, but I do read a lot about people questioning even the 5-day work week. They're like, why do we have a 5-day work week? We don't even need a 5-day work week. And even think about the fact that now people who were working from home, who even if they were productive, are being told you have to go back into the office. So that it's even more time like pulling away from time for yourself. And I feel like a lot of people are having a hard time taking care of themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, because you're just so tired from doing stuff for other people all day long. And then you have the weekend, and by the time you know it, you're back to the weekday. So it's difficult. I feel like a lot of people have the same experience as me, where you just find yourself, so tired because you're made to be tired, and you have to try and find a balance under these circumstances, and that can be really difficult a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So historically, as a Haitian American, my heritage is labor. My heritage is working. The African diaspora experience is labor. So like, I've pivoted to this place where I am in life, never fearful of the additional work, never worried about the um I work X amount of hours, I only have this amount of time. Going back to the idea of feeling empowered, you know, through finding, for me, finding my own self empowerment, taking the risk on myself, um, doing a little bit of extra work when I feel exhausted, putting in a few extra hours when I feel like I need to. It has been life changing.
Hmm.
And I know everyone's life circumstance and condition is different, but I'll always believe that, again, going back to sacrificing just a little bit of time for yourself away from the cycle, like you said, the 9 to 5, then rest and dinner, then sleep, then back. Sacrificing this little bit of time in between is, I think, really the key to like self empowerment, individualism, and kind of finding your way back into community.
Right.
And with that, I kind of wanted to transition into your next question. What are some good self-care techniques? So what are some good self-care techniques for you?
This is something that I'm trying to practice now, which is not focusing so much on, you know, the news, because the news makes me constantly so sad, because every day there's some new story, whether it be about climate change, whether it be about racism, whether it be about, injustices, not even just here in Iran, and what's going on in Puerto Rico, what's going on in DR, what's going on everywhere pretty much. And it's like, there's no way that I can personally take on all of that. So I have to take a break from social media. I have to take a break from the news and just kind of like unwind and relax, even if that means just taking a nap, which is something I don't even really do, because I've never been a nap person, but I have to kind of like make myself do that now. And even if it's just like going through my own photography, or, some kind of skincare routine, something to just take care of myself, even if it just means like cuddling for 15 minutes, because it's just everything can be a lot. And, you just have to find a way to kind of get yourself through the day so you don't feel so like, sad and I don't know, like so weighed down. Also, like just going for a walk. Like last weekend I went for a walk, and then I went and sat at Hudson River Park for a few hours and literally just watched butterflies fly around for like 35 minutes. And
Nice.
I was like, this is so nice. And then watching the sunset, and then continuing to walk or having a nice meal. I think it's just really important to take that time to just, kind of take care of your emotional and mental needs, because it can definitely, weigh a lot on you. But yeah, that's definitely what I do. And I know you like to go for your walks too, which is something that I really liked when I came and visited you in Colorado. You're like, I'm going for my morning walk. Do you guys want to come? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go on that morning walk. And it was so relaxing and nice just to like walk and talk and laugh, and that's cool. And even just hanging out with your friends for a little bit, which, like I would have movie nights or game nights with my friends and just kind of take a load off. And that's
Right.
really nice. It's really, really nice. Or even just, looking at people will share their pictures of their babies with me, and I'm like, look at all these cute babies. And it's just nice
Right.
to
Right.
take a break from that. But what do you do to like clear your mind, to, take care of yourself, just to, level things out?
So real quick, I'm gonna drop the link to the live in the chat. If you're
Mhm.
watching and want to join us, feel free to click it and join. I'll let you in. I found a good balance over the years. So like you said, my morning walks, which have kind of transitioned into morning runs.
Mhm.
Um, I'm very conscious of the amount of energy I need to like feel good. Like sometimes I just need a walk and I'll feel good.
Mhm.
Sometimes I need a run. I just bought a bike about, I think, last month, and on Friday I went for a bike ride, and I was like, this is nice, this is fun. Saturday morning I went for another one, and I smoked a little bit,
Mhm.
but it hit me because I hadn't eaten breakfast, and I'm like, I can't do this right now. So
Oh.
I just I sat on a bench. I had my bike like on the floor, and I was just staring at like the amazement of like the natural, like just
Yeah.
how fucking beautiful everything is. Um, there's like a lake in the middle, so like seeing the reflections of people walking and homes, and it's like, yo, this is nice. I like it's gonna be colder again, so I go for walks in the rain.
Mhm.
I go for walks and runs in the rain and snow. I need to be outside. I need to move. I exercise. The podcasting, occasionally when I do content on TikTok, reading, anything that, um, yeah. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot
That's
of stuff for
good.
self
That's
care.
really good.
I I used to do. I used to like soak in a tub for a little bit. And like I do that randomly. Like one day I did that like Wednesday morning. I woke up, like, you know what? I'm just gonna chill in the tub for a little bit. We have like a pink pink Himalayan salt lamp, and
Mm-hmm.
I put a red bulb in it. Um, so I even use that. Like instead of using the white bright bathroom light,
Mm-hmm.
I use the pink Himalayan salt lamp with the red bulb when I'm in the bathroom, and it's just like a more calm and primal energy. So that kind of
Yeah.
helps me calm down a little bit. Yeah,
I gotta steal some of these techniques. We also have like we have a membership to the New York Botanical Garden, so we would do that a lot.
nice.
So it's like, all right, what do we have to do today? We don't know. We don't want to lay in bed all day. All right, let's go to the New York Botanical Garden, and just walk around. And sometimes they have the exhibits. But then I also mentioned to you that I had started a book club. Um,
Right, right, right.
and it's still trying to find its footing. Sometimes I'm like, the organizing part of it can be a little bit much, but when it gets down to kind of like having the conversation about what we're reading and getting different perspectives about what we read, that's really nice. That's my favorite part of book club, is just being able to sit and have everybody, like we do here. We watch the same movie, we listen to the same album, we watch the same TV show, and then it's like, what was your perspective? Here's my perspective. And then having to do that with like a group of people as well and say, how'd you feel about this book? How'd you feel
Right.
about this book? And I think that's also really helpful. And also just, yeah, like you said, like even just having nice conversations can be really, really good. Like I talk a lot to my mom, and that helps too. And just being able to laugh. I like
Right.
try and laugh as much as I possibly can, because that's when I feel my best. So that's also, I feel like, a really good way to, kind of like decompress. And, like, some days are very sad, but then you go, okay, look at this silly thing. Let's laugh at this silly thing. And then
Right, right.
you're like, all right, I feel better. That was cool.
Marlene G. I mean, I'll just say that's my sister. Salute to her.
Hi,
Um,
sister.
she adds great ideas. If you want to join and add some points, please feel free. You don't have to do the video if you don't want to. Just putting it out there. Um, yeah, it. I feel like we've reached a point socially where like there are just infinite options when it
Hmm.
comes to taking care of yourself, decompressing. Um, it goes back to like this awareness that something's getting you down. You're stuck in the system, and you need to kind of disconnect. Like I love that, you guys, like I couldn't I lived when I lived in New York, I couldn't do it. Like I needed to leave New York to find like self-care, peace of mind,
Yeah.
because the amount of like internal pressure the city's put on me, like I just felt blocked completely.
Yeah.
But now I go back, I have my camera with me whenever I go, I have it in my book bag, and I go to like not Battery Park. I go to the promenade and like by Dumbo,
Hmm.
and just like sit and just watch, like reminisce about being in the city, take pictures. And I think that's the challenge. Like no matter where it's easy to do it when you have. It's easy to do when you're like in a smaller city, a smaller space. If you
Right.
have a car, if you have like the luxuries. The challenge with self care is being able to do it when the obvious isn't available to you, right?
Right.
Like really make an effort. One of my favorite self care techniques, when I used to work and live in the city, used to smoke cigarettes and drink, was every day after work, I'd always walk. I used to work at Italy on 23rd, so I'd walk instead of like getting on the train on
Hmm.
23rd Street. I'd walk from 23rd to Union Square, just enjoy a cig, and like that was like my transition to decompress from it
Yeah.
all, right? Like just that little 10 minute walk, headphones on,
Hmm.
zoning throughout the city, feeling isolated, and I'm done. I'm good for the day. Um, Chico Fontaine, everyone should take time away from NYC. Absolutely,
Word up.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
I also used to,
Um,
I just wanted to mention, I was used to take long walks too when I worked at Barnes& Noble, which was like years ago. But if I worked the late shift, I would walk from 17th Street to 34th Street and then catch the bus all the way home. I'm talking like 100 blocks home to Harlem. And it was nice. Like you just sit on the
yeah,
bus and you just look out the window, and we go past Central
right.
Park, go through Harlem, and I'm just sitting there like, this is so relaxing. I think that's one thing. I think my mom got me in the habit of taking the long way home, because she
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
like trains. But like taking the bus, even when we were kids, would be such an adventure because we're taking it from the first the first stop to the last stop. And it was just relaxing. It was just like a moment for us to just kind of like sit. And sometimes she listened to her music, or me and my sister would talk to her, and it's just a bus ride, but it was like such a good time and a moment for us to like bond. So that definitely helps a lot. I used to like hate the bus because I'm like, oh god, it's so slow. But when I got older, and even maybe like 4 years ago, I'd start to get up a little bit earlier for work so I could just take the bus all the way to work because it was more relaxing for me. It gave me a moment to kind of like have time by myself and just look. And that
Yeah,
sometimes all I want to do is look, and that's it. So, yeah, it's just nice to
yeah,
take that time to just, even if it's just an hour bus ride, to just kind of collect your thoughts and organize
right.
your ideas.
Did you take the express bus or like the
No,
standard MTA bus?
standard
Okay.
MTA bus. I would take the M10 from 34th Street all the way to 159th Street. Um, and when I used to live in Harlem and was working like down on 68th Street, I would take the M2 bus from Harlem all the way to 72nd Street and then walk from the west side to the east side. And that was my day. Like, that was the start of my day. And I'd be fine about it because I'm like, fresh air, a little bit of
Right,
people watching. I used to see George Stephanopoulos all the time. He's a news reporter. Like, I would see him
right, right, right.
things, and I'd be like, this is a nice little like time to myself. No pressure to talk to anybody. Just think and listen to music or just look.
Yeah, I love the waking up earlier. Like that. That's like I do this. I've done this TikTok series talking about starting a day with yourself. Right.
Hmm.
When you wake up, like what's the first thing you do? Who's the first person you report to? Right.
Yeah.
Is it your phone? Is it an email? Is it someone else? Or is it just you? Like I'm gonna do what I want to do for myself, and then when I say everyone else you can have the rest of me. Like after I've done my walk, after I've had my breakfast, after everything I've done, you can have the rest of me.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, instead of just waking up and it's like, I'm up, get dressed for a half hour, I take the train or bus, or I drive, I walk, I get to work on time, and I just jump into it. And it's like, nah, like, wake up a little earlier, decompress,
Yeah.
whether you decompress in the initial part of the morning or like, you rush out, you get ready, and then you get to work like 15 minutes early and you just
Mhm.
give yourself that time to transition
Yeah.
before like jumping into the chaos. Erica adds, sometimes I miss taking the train to get that in your head alone time as opposed to focusing and getting annoyed by driving and traffic. Yeah. I like what you brought up, Tati, about initially not liking the bus as a kid,
Uh-huh.
right? Because it does feel slow, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like, you got to be alert, you got to be aware. But once getting older and it's like I know my stop. I know this takes 20 minutes. I know this takes 30 minutes. So you can just kind of like decompress. You read, listen to music, you people watch, and it's not you don't feel that stressed. I feel once you kind of get used to it, and then you're
Yeah.
like you're good to go. Marlene added, working from home, I started my day with yoga.
I
Yeah,
think I want
yeah,
to
yoga.
try doing yoga. I have never tried it, and I feel like I always hear really good things about how it's a good way to start your day. So maybe I should do that. Plus, I'm
Yeah.
getting older, you know.
Yeah, I used to do when I lived in Miami. I used to do yoga. I started my like transition and
You
like
lived in
my
Miami?
yeah. I feel like we talked about this. I lived on South Beach. I used to start my day on the shore. I lived like 2 blocks from the beach. I'd wake up every morning. Marlene adds, do yoga. It's amazing,
I
right?
think I'm
Like
gonna do it.
don't yeah, like don't even. I'm thinking about it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sun salutations on the shoreline, just like meditating on the shoreline, the ocean waves. Like I said, I had the other luxury of just having like this peace and calm, so it's
Yeah.
easier. But waking up a bit earlier, like living in the city, knowing the chaos, knowing the routine, waking up a bit earlier,
Hmm.
and just decompressing. I found, Marlene, if you want to add some tips for like what your yoga practice has been. Me, I just kind of do what I want.
Hmm.
Like I learned the basics, like I learned the movements, Now I just kind of create my flow. Like I like doing whatever I want to do.
Okay.
I don't really like structure, so I just found moves that I like. Um, like I incorporated it with fitness at times,
Hmm.
but it's life changing. Like it is what everyone says it is.
Okay.
It's life changing. It's humbling. You physically feel stronger. You feel more empowered by it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy me a yoga mat. I gotta do something. I do
Yeah,
walk a lot. Like I walk from work. I told you from work to the bus, but I'm always like, like hurrying up so I can get there. But I need more exercise than just that. So definitely need to do something more physical. And I do feel when I worked. So I worked at the Container Store doing overnights and stuff when like a few years ago, and I used to do a lot of physical work because I worked down in the stock room, and that was like I was getting ripped, Clifford. I had like biceps,
I was getting
triceps.
real.
I was getting ripped, and I was like, "Damn, this feels like really good." And then I got a job in an office, and I was like, "Damn, I kind of miss it." And I tried to, keep both jobs because I liked the physical aspect of it for so long. But I should definitely do more of that.
Find it, find it.
Oh, and Chico Fontaine said he used to take the bus home every day when he worked in Midtown. It's relaxing. It really is.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about transferring. The trains be hot and smelly, and
And,
everyone's rolling you and all that.
and you're
Like, yeah, you
trapped.
get. Say it again.
Trapped. You're not trapped on it.
Yeah,
Like, let's say you get on the
right.
train as express, and here come 14 dancers. You can't get off. You're stuck. If you're on the bus and someone starts acting like crazy or foolish, you like back door and you get off.
Ding, yeah. And I just walk the rest of the way, right? Like
Exactly.
sometimes you get off early, you walk, you explore.
Yeah.
Haitian Creole, we call it flâner. You just like walk around, like
Yeah.
see what's around you.
Yeah.
Merlene G also has a live Zoom instructor. She does it Monday through
Same.
Friday.
Same,
She
Marlene. As
said,
long as I have a window seat.
"Good." Yeah, whenever I get on a bus, I sit in the back, like the last row, either right side or left side. Like that's always my seat because I want to see everything that's coming to me.
Mhm.
And I'm tucked in a corner. Like there's no one on my right or left side, so I have some, I got some wide shoulders, so I get a little extra free space.
It's different. I need leg space. So if it's not enough leg space, I
True,
can't
true,
do it. My
true.
legs are like 12 feet long and my knees are hurt. So I got to have a lot of leg space.
And Chico Fontaine adds that the train is way too hot.
It is.
Um, so might be our last question. We'll see how it goes.
Hmm.
I have to check the Spotify also. What do you love about African American culture? And this kind of stems from us talking about um, you brought up that there's a narrative and belief that African Americans don't have culture, and I
Right.
kind of shared my perspective on. I believe that they do. I just think that it everything involved with the experience suppresses people's ability to see what's unique about African American culture, but also it's kind of intermingled with American culture, and American
Hmm.
culture is just everyone and everything.
Right.
So I was wondering, the question is, what do you love about African American culture? And I'm going to check the Spotify to see if anyone answered it.
Okay. Do you want me to answer while you check or should I just say
Yeah, yeah,
one?
go for it, please.
African American culture to me, it's just like it's ever evolving and ever growing. There's always new African American vernacular English. There's always something new. There's a new dance. It's just ever evolving, and I think it's so influential too, which can sometimes be a good and bad thing, especially when it's you think about whether or not it's credited, but you know. African Americans have always been, I feel like, very resilient because imagine you know our ancestors came here through slavery, and then it was like, all right, you're free, figure it out, and then you kind of figure it out, and from there, ever since then, it's always been like adding something, or it's just, I don't know, it's so fluid, and I
Right,
feel like a lot of people don't realize how much of an impact it's had on everything: punk music, rock music, jazz, R&B, you know hip hop, pop culture. you know it's 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 as old as this country almost. So I think that's
yeah,
really my favorite part about it. It's resilient.
Yeah, that's a word I was thinking about also Spotify. I love the history and the stories, listening to people explain how they came over trying ties, especially the Jim Crow era. Yeah, for me, it's the resilience, and resilience on itself doesn't feel like culture, but I think you have to like intertwine it because part of the African American experience is about resilience, right? It's
Hmm.
about overachieving and succeeding despite everything.
Right.
These past few months, I've been toying with the initial idea in believing that I think African Americans represent the height of like the Black experience. I think they represent like the potential of what it could be because like going back, maybe it's tied to the resilience, right? Like seeing what they've gone through despite it all, seeing what they've always continuously invented, how they've reinvented themselves throughout the experience, how you live side by side with your oppressor, and you show you show the respect, right? Like I'll play the rules to an extent just so you can leave me alone or to get by, and it feels very unique. I'm still
Hmm.
kind of like going over the idea, and I need to like find a bit more language. But um, yeah, I'm starting to feel that like the African American experience is like it's supposed to be the beacon, right? Because the American
Yeah.
experience within itself is supposed to be representative that all groups of all different kinds come together and live in
Hmm.
harmony. Um,
Yeah.
and like that kind of goes back to the mad aspect, right? Like there's this responsibility to show the potential, but the challenges, the ever present challenges.
Yeah. I think it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's so, I know I keep saying the word resilient, but it's just it's very hard to sum up, African American culture because it's so broad and it's had such a big impact on the world. So I think I don't know, it's just so influential. Um, I love it. I love it.
Marlene, as an adult, I have made many AA friends and no longer believe that. There's definitely a culture, food, music, art, religion, belief, uh, folk folk tales, etc. It's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I always mention being Haitian American and like knowing that there's a innate uh, different experience, but being born here, I live the African American experience, and there's that divide, right? There's
Hmm.
an awareness that y'all do y'all thing, you do your thing. We're all Black, but within it we're all different,
Right.
and there's like the negative perspectives because of the African American experience, but the education, the experience, like having conversation and dialogue with people and being immersed, I think at times people who join the Black experience within the United States, you don't intermingle, right? Like we talk about
Hmm.
community, you don't intermingle, you don't learn, you don't eat the food, you don't you want to be a part of it, but you want to be separate, or you just want to kind of do your own thing. So you're ignorant to the experience, right? You're ignorant, like Black people become ignorant to the African American experience the way white people are ignorant to it. Like I feel like it's the same thing, but there's like this arrogance behind it, thinking that Black immigrants think they're better, or Africans think they're better, and all that. They think they're better because they come here, which it's relative. We talked about. I think Chico Fontaine brought up incentives that in the past. I think we took when we maybe in the heat of the night he was talking about like incentives that other
Hmm.
immigrant groups get that allow them to thrive a bit easier compared to African Americans. And
Right.
not knowing that like there are still additional limits. It allows you to kind of have that lazy perspective on what the African American experience is and why it's going through what it goes through.
And I also feel like because it's so ingrained in what American culture is, that people don't take the time to kind of learn why it's so ingrained in it and how much of an influence it's had. Because I was even reading recently, because I found this out recently in the last few years, how big of an influence that there were a lot of Black bands involved in punk rock music and
Yeah,
punk music.
I just
And
saw
a
that
lot of
too.
people don't know that. A lot of people have no idea about it because it ends up getting whitewashed. Same thing with, rock music. Same thing with jazz. I feel like sometimes a lot of Black people don't have an appreciation for jazz music because it kind of gets written off because they kind of, sometimes it gets ingrained in American culture so much that people don't realize that it was like a Black thing first. I feel like also that's intentional too, because you don't always learn about that in school if you don't do higher education or you don't do your own research. um but yeah, it's just it's so influential and so underappreciated at the same time. Even think about sometimes you hear on TikTok Black creators coming up with dances or trends, and then when they get really big, white creators end up doing it, and then you're like, we talked about this before, then they're like, this kid's on Jimmy Fallon for doing this
Right, right, right,
dance
right,
that
right.
these little Black girls came up with, and then they're getting sponsorships and deals, and they're making money, and then all the little Black girls that came up with the dance got nothing from it, and people are like, well, what's the big deal? It's like, because you guys took someone else's culture, monetized it, made money off of it, created a career off of it, and then these little girls don't get that same opportunity. It kind of, it sucks. But yeah, it's just ingrained and some honestly sometimes disrespected. So it's just like very, I feel like American culture has a very weird relationship with Black culture, and not realizing
Right.
that it's a part of the same culture, but still no appreciation for it.
Running ads. Memphis, Tennessee will give you a history lesson on the Black experience on music. I recommend everyone go. Yeah, I want to go to like Nashville and Tennessee. I want to
Mhm.
explore. I want to explore like the South. I want to explore the South when I when we get more time when Eric and I get more time, just to like
Mhm.
really immerse myself with Black history and the music and the trauma. Um, earlier I talked about, we have this information, right? We learn all these new things, and it's like, we just don't do anything with it. For me, I want to use the trauma as like motivation, right? Motivation
Mhm.
to just kind of talk about positive content, talk about, ways on not rewriting the history, just reimagining the history, right? To the point where, slavery doesn't even matter. Like, yeah, it happened, but we're thriving and we're good. Eric asked the Stacks Museum, which I guess I'm assuming that's in Memphis.
I should. My family is from. I have family in Nashville, Tennessee, and they're always telling me to come in. Maybe I should. Oh, see, look, the food
It's in
as well.
Memphis,
Nashville
cool.
hot chicken everywhere now. See, I want
Yeah,
some
yeah.
hot chicken.
DJ Daryl, the food as well, Nashville hot chicken. You just said it right.
Yeah, I want some hot chicken. And Chico Fontaine said, I want to go to Nashville and Memphis. Heard it's great. Yeah, because I have cousins that live in Nashville. My family comes from Mobile, Alabama, and some parts of South
Mobile,
Carolina.
Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama. So I want to go. I want to go and check it out. But I did get to see the African American Museum in DC, which I don't know if you've seen it,
I
but
haven't.
you've been there. Oh man, it's so good. It's incredible. You should really go. It is.
Okay.
It's an experience. I went right before they shut everything down for because of COVID.
Right.
I went with my sister. We walked through the museum for like 2 or 3 hours, and just it was fantastic. They did such a good job with that museum.
So you brought up TikTok, and you brought up black creators on TikTok.
Hmm.
So this past week, there was this white TikTok creator. She made this song called "Period I." Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. So I saw the video. It came on my I block more people than I follow. The video came on my feed. I blocked her. I blocked her immediately. But then all these black content creators started duetting her and rapping. And you know what ends up happening?
She
She
got
got
a
a
record
record
deal.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
And this goes back to the first point about being mad about the choices we make, right?
right.
The black experience talks about, white people steal and cultural appropriation, which is a question. that hopefully we can jump into for a little bit. But you participate, right? Like, you
Right.
participate, you join, like you know what like we see it all the time. We know that when you amplify whiteness,
Right.
whiteness gets the deal, not you.
Yeah.
Um, and I forget the artist's name who like really elevated it, but she made a post and she was saying how she spoke to the A&R that hired the I think his name is like Barbie Britt.
Uh-huh.
The black artist met with the A&R and he said, "Oh, it's cool, but you talk about pro blackness a little too much, so it's not really for us." But here he goes hiring someone just for the bullshit.
I
And
can't
like that,
remember. I
go
think I
ahead.
know who you're talking about. Chris, I think her
Something,
name is Crystal.
yeah, Crystal,
Crystal
some,
Crystal something. I remember that because she was crying. She was upset
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
she was saying like, "Oh, we don't like that." But it was crazy because it was like
Crystal
who was
Crave.
it?
There we go.
Yeah,
Crystal
Crystal Craig.
Crave. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then also like young baby Tate and Chloe Bailey also duetted the same person and were like providing they were duetting with it. And I was like, why the hell are they doing this? And a lot of
Ah,
people were like, is she making fun of us? And now she has a record deal. I think it's the same thing with people always bring up Bad Baby because Bad Baby is doing like a talk at Oxford University and she got famous from using a lot of like black slang and AAVE and being on Dr. Phil disrespecting her mom. And now she is like a millionaire
right.
from that exposure because everyone thought it was like this big funny joke and now she's rich from it. Now you have somebody else who has also kind of been able to capitalize off it. And not only just because she, was hyped up by just, white people, but black people thought it was funny and cool too. And it's like
Right.
sometimes I feel like you have to look at things critically. Like you have to think critically when you do things like this. Like, why is this person doing this? She's obviously trying to kind of outrage people and do like make money off of it and it worked. um Not
Yeah.
everyone deserves that kind of attention and I feel like sometimes when you see shit like that you gotta just ignore it, but people were just eating it up and that shit
Yeah.
was not funny at all. It was not funny.
I think one of the first videos I saw someone duetted or stitched her, and it was like this is how they think we sound, right? This is how they think we sound. Um, it's like the idea of like it being heartbreaking, right? To like once again like see the insult, the A&R that hired her or signed her, black dude. Um, I don't know, man. It's like it's the game. Like we said, it's the
Yeah.
game. We know the game, and like you said, ignore. Like I said, I don't. Respectfully, I don't. I'm not interested in white rappers. That era is done. I have the white rappers I like. I have the white artists I like. I'm
Hmm.
good. I don't want. Hip hop has dwindled down to art. I think like mumble rap killed it respectfully, right? Because anyone can get on and say anything, and it rocks. And now it's just whatever this is, right? Period. 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 Like, and that's it. And like that's
Yes.
the culture. That's the game.
What DJ
Um.
Daryl DJ said, didn't Post Malone use the culture to come up and then said, I don't do hip hop or something? He did
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep. He fell on
And
stage last week, punk ass.
and then Chico Fontes said, meanwhile, some vlogger called hip hop pioneers dusty because they don't have money.
DJ
And it's like,
academics. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing that's crazy too, because and I mean just people in general a lot of the time sum up things on whether or not like, oh, is this still relevant if you're not making money? And it's like we've wrapped everything around making money. So if you're not making money and like using the word dusty to disrespect the people that created the game and like influence the game, oh, they're dusty because they're still not making the same kind of money they were making.
Right. Right. Right.
That's
I,
that's bound to happen, you know?
I mean, academic is kind of trolling at this point. I mean, everyone's trolling, right? Everyone's looking for clout. Everyone's gonna say everything and anything just to get attention. LL Cool J's making TV money. He has low. There ain't no money in rap, right? Like
Right.
Poe, Cameron, all the rappers from the '90s, 2000 been told there's no money in rap. Mason Bedley from Harlem, ain't no money in rap.
Yeah.
It's just a way to get clout. Um,
Yeah.
I, Chico said, "I don't respect dude enough to use his name. He's a lame."
He is.
I feel that. I feel that. It's like even with with Rock the Bells. Like I follow Rock the Bells, which is it's. I mean, Rock the Bells is LL Cool J's. I'm not sure if it's a nonprofit, but like his organization to promote like the culture and history of hip hop. And I follow it on TikTok because I hope they would do something like innovative and new. They just content farm like the Shade Room and all these other posts, and it's
Yeah.
like go back to like there's no culture in the work they do, right? Like there's no art in the work they do. They're just pulling content, doing what everyone else does because it's easy, and that's what's
Yeah.
going to keep people's attention.
Exactly.
And that's the challenge of it, right? Like preserve not even preserving the culture, but elevating the culture and elevating the art
Hmm.
is instead of always meeting the everyday person where they are, who are just going to offer the minimal value, minimal content. I like this, or that's funny. I think I think it's detrimental, like to the long term value of the potential of what it could be. The more you just dumb things down, and just meet people where they are on an everyday level, you limit the potential of the work. Like Rock the Bells. Like, I have a TikTok post, and I created a change.org petition to create a hip hop board. Like I want to have like 1 million people sign it, just so be like, yo, like we the people who love hip hop. We want a board so that we can kind of set some type of culture to really honor what this genre, this culture has become. Um, I'm gonna get it done eventually, but it's a
Yeah. I believe
it's a
you
long battle,
can.
man. It's a long battle,
Yeah, I just think it gets down to like at some point it's just about making money and it's not
right?
about like putting good quality stuff out there. It's about making money. Like what's the fastest way for me to make money? And that's it. And I think that's the biggest problem because capitalism has such an influence on even how things are taken in that it's just like, I'm going to give you bullshit because you're going to buy that bullshit. And it
Right.
doesn't matter if it's good or not. Oh, you bought the bullshit. Now I don't have to give you quality stuff because you don't care about quality stuff. You just want bullshit. And then, you kind of lose track of why you even started it.
Yeah,
Um,
you lose yourself. Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's a hard line because, you know, if you're making money, you're like, oh, I'm making so much money. Damn, I don't even have to worry about this stuff anymore. You lose the passion for it. And I feel like that's kind of like the biggest problem. People lose the passion for it because they just see dollar signs.
Yeah. Chico Fontaine adds, it absolutely is. We were talking earlier about how Pink was told to black it up basically so she could blow up. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen videos on TikTok about that too. Um,
Misunderstood that first album. I could swear up and down, Clifford. I thought Pink was black when I was a kid. I was like, look at this light skinned black woman singing these songs, and then it was like, oh, she's not black, and her name is Alicia Moore. Real name's Alicia Moore, but they told
that's
her to
kind of
play it
black,
up.
right? Yeah.
Right, it's black sound, and I was like, Alicia Moore. That sounds like a black woman, but she was told to play it up by even black executives because money, money, money.
All right. Anything to close out with?
um yeah, just appreciate the culture, love the culture, you know respect the culture, protect the culture.
I like that. Protect the culture. The only thing I'll add is, thank you. I appreciate everyone who joined the chat. Chat was kind of lit today. I like
It
that.
was it
Um,
was very lit.
our next episode I'm excited for is
Oh, I'm
Martin.
so excited.
It drops next Thursday. Martin, just season 1.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for rocking out with us. Till next time, peace.